Overmodulation. Hey, everybody. Welcome into the 9 p.m. stream. Let's bring in the Parker. He's half of Pugs. I just blew my voice out. Parker's here. Hi, Parker. Look at him. Isn't he glorious? He's all square. I think I just blew my voice out.
What were you doing? Watching stars or something?
No, I was just singing. Sometimes I get here a little bit early. I start going through my notes for the 9 p.m. Pugs and Parker with E stream. And I like to put on a little music, and pretty soon, the music gets to me, and I start singing. And I was singing Spinners stuff. You know the Spinners? You know what the Spinners are, James? Or is this going to be another one of your? They suck.
Kind of. No. The Spinners are like the Mills Brothers or whatever, like the Four Tops or the what kind of that era. Aren't they one of those?
They're like disco funk. They're like, I don't know, like out of Akron or something. Not Motown, but some other like Rust Belt. You ever seen Stripes?
Oh yeah, I'm a big fan of Stripes.
That's the mud wrestling scene. The mud wrestling scene this is the song.
Hurry now and don't be late, 'cause we ain't got time to chat. You and me, we're going out to catch the latest sound.
All right, here comes chorus, mud wrestling.
Guaranteed to blow your mind so high you won't come down. Hey y'all, prepare yourself for the rubber band. Man, you'll never heard a sound like the rubber band. Man.
Anyway, I've been listening to some Spinners tonight because James, they were inducted or elected to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame today. There you go. It's about time. Oh, I did a whole list. Of them. Have you seen the list? Maybe I'd like to hear your take on whether or not you think these bands deserve to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I've given my 2 cents.
Well, see, this is such a tough concept because they have such a ridiculously wide definition of rock and roll. Because clearly, what we just heard is not a rock and roll song.
No.
And if there's a rock and roll formatted radio station, they're less likely to play the Spinners than, basically any other group on the planet.
No, the Spinners are played on dusty R&B formats, where the dusties, cool oldies, that kind of thing. But okay. It's definitely R&B. They are not rock and roll by the definition of what I think we all understand rock and roll to be.
And not to play like the card, like I'm a musician and you're not, so you don't understand. But from the point of view of a musician, all of these, so many of these American genres of music are the same damn thing. They just either have a black accent on it or a white accent on it. Because technically speaking, like in music theory speaking, rock and roll, the blues, country music, soul, they are all playing the same scales and they're all playing the same chord progressions, and they're basically copies of each other. And well, you have to put in chronological order. The blues was first, and then sprung from that was rock and roll, and then country as well. And then you could put most of R&B in that same category. But so blues was the dad of it, and that's its 3 children. Now jazz is this offshoot that did come off of blues, but it's not even playing scales. They're like, fuck scales, we're just gonna play every note at some point. And so it's weird how, technically speaking, from a strictly musical sense, you can't exclude any blues artist, any country artist, or any R&B artist from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame if you want to get down to the technical notes of it. So I understand really from an artistic perspective why all these guys are included. And like that Spinners, they're playing pentatonic scales. They deserve to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame when you look at it from the black and white notes on a page. But as far as radio formats go, it's weird how the dividing lines are stark and pure.
Well, I think that's where we're having our little disconnect, because we're allowing our understanding of radio formats to define what rock and roll is to us. I think, if we're being honest, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is unfortunately named because it isn't a Hall of Fame for the specific genre of rock and roll. It's American pop music Hall of Fame. That's what it is. It's for anybody. Dolly Parton went in last year. You know, we've been putting hip hop. Missy Elliott is going in this year. I mean, it's supposed to be a rock and roll Hall of Fame, James, but this year Soundgarden did not get in, but Missy Elliott did. So, you know, let's call it what it is. And I don't think there's any shame in that. It is a museum and a Hall of Fame for American popular music. If it sells and if teenagers of their time are humming it, it can come into the hall. I think that's what it is. So let's not get bogged down in the rock and roll. You want to go through some of these? Can I get your take on some of the people who went in? See what you think?
Wait, is this your list of people who got in or a list of people who haven't gotten in?
I have both. I have a list of people who got in this time around. These are the elected. And then
who got in first?
You want to do the people who got in first? Okay. Sure. Willie Nelson got in.
Dude, no. I mean, clearly not rock and roll, but again, they play the same chords and same chord progressions. They just put a country twang on it, maybe put a slide on their finger when they play guitar sometimes. So, all right, I'm a huge Willie fan. So, how do you say anything bad about that? You can't.
He's an American music cultural icon. That's why he goes in, because that is the American Music Icon Hall of Fame. That's what it is. And also, if you want to make the more extrapolated rock and roll argument, we're in the court of public opinion here. I would argue that Willie Nelson embodies the rock and roll spirit as much as any punk rocker, as much as any. Willie Nelson is the guy who, at the height of his young career, told Nashville to S his D. He was going to Austin. He was going to grow his hair long, and he formed what was then the Outlaws of country music. He is more rock and roll than the friggin' Backstreet Boys, that's for sure. So because of his longevity, I think he goes in because of all of those things. Willie Nelson is very rock and roll, by the way that I would define it. Okay, so he goes in. How about Kate Bush? Kate Bush went into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Now, do you even know who Kate Bush is?
All right, that bothers me bad. That's wiping your butt with a roofing shingle right there. Okay. So she didn't get it all this time. Just coincidentally, the artistic ability of her one big hit in the late 80s was featured in Stranger Things season 4. And now she makes it in there. What an amazing coincidence. Good for you, Kate Bush.
They're going to really struggle when they have to do the Kate Bush medley of hits. They're not going to have any. It's going to be. She doesn't deserve to be in. And you are exactly right. She went in because of the public vote. They voted her in overwhelmingly because a bunch of 14-year-olds fell in love with Running Up That Hill, a song that was just a minor hit at best in 1985 when it came out. Great song. I mean, that was always one of my bangers of, my youth. That's a great song. But it wasn't a big hit. It was a song the cool kids played at parties. You know what I mean? Back in 1985, it was like an alt rock hit for
when they played the song or when it started being replayed. I remember, I've heard this before, but if you asked me who sang this, I would have never known 2 years ago, or I guess a year ago. But
yeah, so that is some here. We're talking about this song since we've already.
And can you blame them for glomming on to?
I mean, it is a cool song. It was made popular again. Actually, no, let's stop that. It was made popular for the first time. It wasn't popular in the 80s. It was something the nerd kids knew. If you listened to The Cure and loved the Smiths, you knew this song, okay? But if you were like normal
you had heard it before.
It wasn't a hit on the radio or anything like that. This you had to go hang out with the goth kids in the back bedroom at the party to hear this kind of stuff, because they were playing Iron Maiden and Motley Crue in the big room. You know what I mean?
I think I heard this on 97.1 The Eagle.
Maybe briefly, because like I said, there was a little bit. I knew it from MTV, but it wasn't like all the time. It wasn't a big.
It was not a big hit. But look, that's the interesting thing we've seen that can happen in this new age. It's not like they re-released the single, but because the way that the metrics by which they choose what the top 10 song includes streaming now, these songs are being resurrected. And so Kate Bush just made a bunch of money last year. And good for her. That's fantastic.
Oh, she's cool. This is nothing against her. She just doesn't have a body of work that would justify being voted into the Hall of Fame unless a bunch of 14-year-old girls stuff the ballot boxes this time around.
But
Stranger Things.
we've run into a statistical problem here. This is a spider web that I don't know how, mathematically speaking, they're going to get out of. And I don't mean to get too much in the weeds, but you know, when they measure the Billboard Top 100 or the top 10 songs in the country, you know, they used to have to say, well, which one had the most CD sales and which one got played on the most radio stations. Well, no one buys physical copies of music anymore, and radio stations are only a fraction of the music listening. So they've had to incorporate YouTube and Spotify and any streaming, whether it's through Apple or Google or whatever the hell, right? And so, like the 21 Pilots album, it was the first album to ever have every song go platinum on it. Like even the Beatles didn't do that. Well, it's not that they even released each song as a single. It's that people listened to it so much that every song eventually clicked platinum status.
Also, it's easier to do that. It's easier to rack these things up digitally than it is to either get on your bike or get in your car and go down to the record store and actually buy the record. There's a lot of physical steps involved in the record sales. So it's so much easier to just sit there and download. You know what I mean?
Well, we're also learning a few things. Like there was Pugs, your entire radio life until 5 years ago, it was considered a radio peeing on the third rail if you played the same artist back to back. Like if you played a Katy Perry song and then another Katy Perry song. But
unless it's 2 for Tuesdays, and that was a very special day of the week.
That's what made it so wild. Oh man, we are getting way out there. We're playing the same artist twice in a row. And then we learned by watching the algorithms on how people stream their own music that when they listen to a song, the number one song they want to hear after that is the same damn song again. The number two song is another song by the same artist. So we were not only wrong, we were as wrong can be. Like if you just played Nelly Grills, it's like, we're not going to play that for at least another hour or so. No, if it's another number one song in the country, you're not killing yourself. Yeah.
Here, I wanted to mention this one last thing about Kate Bush. And Kate Bush going into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, we both agree that's a travesty. Nothing necessarily against her. It's just, come on. Now,
the bigger point is they're glomming on to the stats are calculated now. The Radio Hall of Fame is now reflecting the new paradigm.
It's not about true artistic merit. Let's stop kidding ourselves. It's about who the kids love from Stranger Things season 4. Okay, but wouldn't it be great? See, this would be really nice, and I wish this were the case, but wouldn't it be nice if there was like another female contemporary of Kate Bush's who, at the very same time was cutting records and having hits the same time as Kate Bush? What if there was one of them? I wish there was one of them who was also up for election who didn't get in, but Kate Bush did because Stranger Things. Wouldn't that be great? Well, guess what, James? There is. Can I introduce you to Cyndi Lauper, who did not get in, who I would argue had 5 to 10 times the career that Kate Bush had. And Kate Bush got in. Cyndi Lauper did not.
Yeah, True Colors, Time After Time, Girls Just Want to Have Fun, She Bop, which is about spanking, right? Isn't that what that was?
I think so.
Right there, what a travesty. Why isn't she in?
Cyndi Lauper, let me tell you something about Cyndi Lauper. Cyndi Lauper was a massive star for a bunch of years. Now, I don't think she deserves to get in, but I certainly don't think that Kate Bush, who was active at the exact same time as Cyndi Lauper, deserves to go in. Are you kidding me? There's a good one.
I remember for an entire year, I think I heard that song every day.
Girls just want to have fun, man. Cyndi Lauper and Sheryl Crow, man, they know.
And this was every school dance. This was the slow dance song with the girl that you wished was your girlfriend.
Come on, this is beautiful.
Oh, man. And you're in 7th grade and you get to go to that first school dance and you're like, is this all just a ruse so I can get girls to squish their boobs on me? Because that's all dancing is at this point. Like you stand up next to a girl and like, oh, wow. Like her just mashed up on me. This is amazing. I remember thinking that was the greatest. When you're in 7th grade, they're mashed on you.
Byron requested this one. I like to imagine big old Byron right now, just alone in a room, just a tear starting to well up in his eye. Something means something to Byron. This song means something to Byron, and he is on the verge of tears. It's beautiful. Beautiful. Anyway, you cannot tell me that not Tori Amos. Tori Amos is another one. How come Tori Amos isn't in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? She's much bigger than Kate Bush and a contemporary. How about I don't know. I guess I'm out. What about Sarah McLachlan? What about Natalie Merchant of 10,000 Maniacs? What about? There's a whole bunch of people who I could name who
She's
are
probably in, right?
No, I don't think so. All right, next, Missy Elliott, James. Missy Elliott was elected to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this time around.
I hate that. It shouldn't bother me so because I know that the musicianship isn't really that different, but it is. I mean, is there a hip hop Hall of Fame? And are they letting in the White Stripes? I mean, it's.
Are they letting in Eminem? Yeah, there's actually probably a Lifetime Achievement Award named after Eminem. Are they letting in the Beastie Boys? Are they letting in Third Base? I think that's your question. I don't know. I don't know if there's a hip hop Hall of Fame.
What was with the Third Base reference?
Well, they were a white hip hop group, right?
Yeah, but they would never be confused for a rock group. The point is, like, is there a hip hop Hall of Fame, and are they letting in rock acts, specifically non hip hop acts that have never been heard on any hip hop station ever? Are they letting them into that? But I do love Missy Elliott, and I like your music. I understand from a business level, if you want to rope in Missy Elliott fans and attract them to your Hall of Fame, that's probably good for business. But damn, that's not rock and roll like that in any sense. And
does it check the box of American popular music? Because I think that's the criteria now for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Again, don't get tripped up on the name.
They just made the box a little more vague. Yes.
Okay. How about Sheryl Crow? Sheryl Crow goes in this year. If it makes you happy. Do you think Sheryl Crow deserves to go into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
She deserves to go in the Hall of Fame, not because she did anything musically amazing or she's a great singer, guitar player, or even songwriter, but she was very successful and she wrote a lot of really good songs. And yeah, she's probably better than the median person that's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, actually. I mean, I'm a Sheryl Crow fan. Like, I hate the person, but I love her music.
Why do you hate the person? What do you know? I don't even know anything about Sheryl Crow. I mean, I don't know. All right, here's my take on Sheryl Crow. She's got to wait 10 years. 10 more years. Let's talk about her in 10 years. I think she needs to wait a little bit longer. I don't think that
she had her hit 30 years ago. She's waiting.
Yeah, that's it. She doesn't have a sustained career. You know, she's not like that. Her career doesn't span decades.
Well, look, she went all the way through with like that duet she did with Kid Rock and Picture.
Yeah, she's like 2000. No, she's like 90. She's like 96 to 2006. That's like her 10-year window.
I would say 94 to like 2009, but
maybe
I'm quibbling.
Yeah. No, but you're right. You're right. Because now that I think about it, it was. I remember going to college parties when all I wanted to do was a big hit song. All right, so yeah, so like let's say 93. Let's split the difference.
At least it's rock. At least it's been played on rock station.
An argument can be made that she deserves to go in. All right, James, how about Rage Against the Machine?
Absolutely. That's who the hell can question that one?
Yeah, we agree. We absolutely agree. They deserve to be in there. George Michael. Come on. Mind you, Elton John's already in.
And Elton John's probably more rock than George Michael, but
come on.
I am shocked at how much when I go back through George Michael's catalog, I like his song.
I know, right? Man. Dude, I could never admit that I liked George Michael till about 10 years ago. And then I'm like, well, all of his stuff are bangers. And they were embarrassing bangers. Like, I promise you that the first time I heard, we do the jitterbug, me and my friends in 1983 were like, these fags. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They were not what we were going to be into. We were not into that. But then, by the way, that was when we used to use the evil F word fairly casually and without any real connotations pertaining to one's sexual orientation. It was just a catch-all for... Anyway, yeah, I mean, but I was in my 30s when I finally realized that, holy cow, George Michael's actually kind of... You hear Faith in a bar at midnight? Come on. Because you got to have...
Yeah, a couple things. I didn't have MTV when I was growing up. So when I was staying at my grandmother's house in El Paso for a week, she had MTV. So I was glued, right? And so I remember being, I think it was the summer before my 6th grade year. I'm staying at my grandmother's house, and George Michael's video "I Want Your Sex" comes on.
Yeah.
There's this chick that's like walking around in her drawers, and I was like, "Wow, guess I'm straight." Wow, wow, this is the best thing I've ever seen. Can we record this on your new VHS recorder, and I could just watch this over? Wow, wow, yeah.
The very first time I heard that song, we were driving up to Milwaukee Summerfest, and we had crossed out of. There's this weird period where Chicago radio stations can still be heard, but they dial it back so that Milwaukee can have their own radio stations too, even though it's kind of like a close area. And we went from hearing the hottest song in the nation at the moment, which was "I Want Your Sex," being played on Chicago radio stations. I want your sex, to crossing over and then suddenly hearing it being played on Milwaukee radio stations where it was heavily edited. And it was so weird. I remember going, "Oh my God, dude, that was controversial. They didn't want him singing, 'I want your sex.'" So in Milwaukee, they had to dub, "I want your love." It was love. It was all love. Every time it was love. I know, very weird. But yeah, that was so. Come on, George Michael. Does he go
Okay,
in?
so I have 2 more things about George Michael. First off, Jeff's comment steals my thunder. "Last Christmas alone deserves him the Hall of Fame." Hell yes. One of my favorite Christmas carols. I didn't like it 20 years ago. Now I do. It has grown on. It's better the 1,000th time than it was the 100th time. So that's a rare feat for a song in my world. And also, not only is Faith a great song, it is one of my kind of go-to karaoke songs. because look, I didn't look the Limp Bizkit version of Faith is something I like a scary amount as well. Not that I even like Limp Bizkit or even George Michael that much, but you put the 2 craps together and it makes this new super crap, and I kind of like it. And I do that when there's Careless Whisper's fantastic.
Guilty feet have got no reason, man. He's never dancing again, James. Do you understand what he's going through? He is so traumatized. He's not even going to think about dancing again.
Real quick, George Michael, dead or alive?
Dead.
Okay.
George Michael lived right around the corner from us. You know that, don't you? The George Michael mansion?
No,
you didn't. Yeah.
No, you told me this.
Yeah, he was married to Kenny Goss, famous Dallas artist. And they had their Highland Park mansion. Literally, I could throw a rock. I could stand at the end of the driveway, throw a rock.
Michael, you're so right. Freedom, I won't let you down. Freedom, never give you up. Freedom.
Yeah. Yeah, George Michael's good, man. He's good. And what the hell, man? Duran Duran went in last year, Depeche Mode the year before. But we're letting all of them in.
See, that
Freedom.
Have you done like your anthropology of music? Didn't you watch like that Ken Burns American music documentary?
Country one on country. Did you see his country one? It was
Well,
so good.
oh yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. But it's the same thing. It's the same origin story for country music that it is for blues music, that it is for rock music, that it is for jazz music. It all really distills back to Robert Johnson in Mississippi. Not that he's the first guy to ever play it, but he's the oldest recording we can find of someone playing it, because we know many people played these new scales and these new chord progressions and the blue notes and the whatever that makes up the theory that distinguishes American music from the rest of the freaking globe. And we've done 4 different iterations of American music in different cultures, but that's where it all distills back down to. So anything that goes in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, if it is born from that tree where the trunk of it is that Robert Johnson album, then I think it deserves to be in there. So when you say like casually Duran Duran or Depeche Mode or even George Michael's,
I love those bands.
Technically speaking, they absolutely deserve to be in there.
Well, now, this is interesting. This is a fun conversation because I have given this very subject a lot of thought. You're talking about one branch, and the branch that you are discussing is the one that came from the slave, the songs in the field. No matter what, however you want to do it, that's where the blues and that's where, all of that came from. Now, there is another path there was another path that was very popular. I'm going to show you how these two paths crossed around 1960, okay? So there was another path, and that came from musicals and the stage. The Gilbert and Sullivans, that gave birth to an entirely different style of music, which gave birth to crooners, and which gave the Bing Crosbys and the Frank Sinatras and that whole stuff.
The ragtime trail, like when you go backwards?
Well, not necessarily ragtime, because ragtime has its roots in like early like Louisiana jazz and stuff like that. I'm talking about the stuff. I'm talking about the earliest of the Gilbert and Sullivans, and the old sing-alongs from the West End days of theater. I'm talking about that iteration of music, whereas you're talking about something. I'm just talking about a different path. Now they crossed over in 1960 because your path, the one that you are describing, was almost completely shunned by the American popular music industry in favor of the one that I described. So what ended up happening was people from other countries had to discover those branches, and that's where you got the British invasion. The popularization of rock and roll as we know it today really would have never taken place if we hadn't forsaken the branch of music that you were talking about, and it hadn't been discovered by English musicians. Everyone from the Beatles to Eric Clapton to the Rolling Stones, who fell in love with that blues stuff, and then suddenly we went, oh, they like it, it's ours again, and we never looked back. But yeah, I mean, it was all crooners until the rediscovery of that branch of the American music tree.
Yeah, like that's a little reductive. I'm not arguing with you, but there were also other things that got woven in there because there were other branches of American music, like the John Philip Sousa, the march. Well, that got.
Well, yeah, I thought we were talking about singers, like performing the performing arts of music, which is bands and stuff like that.
That's still a thing. I'm just talking about the competing, because like blues wasn't the only trunk.
Well, there's swing. We haven't even mentioned swing, which was all instruments.
Sure, like the whole
big band and swing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, see, so what you had there was classical music was always a thing. Then you had sort of the march that when it intersected with American music and kind of made it this new flipper baby. I feel like that's what ragtime was. And then you have intersections of other things where classical music jumps into blues music and it kind of spits out big band is what I feel. Big band was a hybrid of this new blues/jazz prototypical type of music.
What is college football band music? I like that.
That's the John Philip Sousa. That's the John Philip Sousa branch of the tree.
All right, let's get back into the people who are elected to the Hall of Fame. George Michael was the last one. The Spinners is how we started this out. We listened to some Spinners. Shaka Khan goes in.
Mine as well.
Here's an interesting one, James. I'd like to get your take on this. 2023, Bernie Taupin is going into the Hall of Fame. Do you know why this is an outrage? In 2023,
it should have happened 30 years ago.
Because Elton John went in like 20-something years ago, and there is no Elton John without Bernie Taupin, and he gets no credit. I don't understand why it took this long. Anyway,
well, I wouldn't know who Bernie Taupin is if you hadn't done this bit on me before.
Did I? Oh, really? Well, it's
the only reason I know who he is.
It's always bothered me. Everything that Elton John has ever done, every word that has melted a soul as Elton John belted it out behind his piano, was written by Bernie Taupin, and he has to wait to 2023 when he's like 85 to get into the Hall of Fame. All right. How about some of the people? Let me give you some of the people who didn't get in. Okay. Now we've gone through, James, the people who did get in. So let me throw at you some of the people who didn't get in. Where's that list?
Is this a list of like the same grievances that happen every year?
No, every year. This is kind of a fresh. These are the fresh ones that didn't get in. Okay,
so some new people who were eligible this year that didn't get in. Like, can I know those first?
I think these are all. I don't know. I don't know. It's not broken down that way. I don't know how many times these people have been elected before, and denied. All right. How about a Tribe Called Quest? Did not. They were on the ballot. They did not receive the requisite votes. Tribe Called Quest. James.
I'm a huge fan.
Important group.
Well, look, if it wasn't for Tribe Called Quest, and there was a few others like right around the same time, like DOS Effects and that.
PM Dawn.
That ended up being this sort of branch of hip hop that was, we called it backpack rap in Dallas.
Trip hop, right? And then basically what it was popularly known as trip hop.
No, trip hop was these idiots from England, like Tricky and whatnot.
Okay.
But Backpack Rap, they are the guys that sort of established the baseline that everyone else was trying to get to for the next 10 years until that spun off into nerdcore or whatever.
All right. So what do you think? Do did they get rightfully denied, or what do you think? Tribe Called Quest, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
It's
James?
fine because they're not even a damn rock group. I wouldn't get if they were even, but
All right. Well, here's one that cannot be denied. They are a rock group, James. Iron Maiden was denied. Now, Missy Elliott went in, but Iron Maiden, Kate Bush went in, but Iron Maiden didn't make it in. It's so unfortunate.
Iron Maiden has, like, in retrospect, sort of a clownish, almost buffoonish presentation. But their musicality is amazing. The fact that they had twin guitars playing these very difficult runs at the same time and staying in sync, and like the musicianship and the difficulty of what they did on a nightly basis is actually really impressive. And I think if Chuck Berry had to sit down and like parse through what Iron Maiden was doing, he would be impressed. I think if Robert Johnson did, he would be impressed. I think if Wolfgang Mozart went through some of the speed runs that these maniacs do, he wouldn't necessarily buy the album, but he could be like, well, I can't say they suck. Like, that's pretty cool. I don't own an Iron Maiden shirt. I've never bought an Iron Maiden album. I will never. But I will not say a bad thing about them, because the stuff they do on guitar makes me want to quit. They're good. They are good. They should be in there. And I don't even like them, and they should be in there.
Why all of a sudden am I getting this bad feedback? 1, 2, 3. There we go. Now it's better. Okay. Also, how about Joy Division? Joy Division did not get in. What do you know about Joy Division?
Well, Joy Division didn't accomplish a whole lot except like Love Will Tear Us Apart, but they're better known for their offsprings. And so, do they really get credit for, like the sum of the whole is greater than the parts, or some whatever that crap is? So they're known for spawning New Order, and who else sprung up from the ashes of Joy Division?
Depeche Mode, maybe. Bronski Beat,
No,
Erasure. I don't know. One of those groups.
Wasn't it like the Smiths? No, who was it?
No.
Go ahead and correct us. This is what's perfect for commenting. Everyone loves to correct me when I don't know where Morrissey came from, or who Joy Division split up to, or he's not Depeche Mode, it's Duran Duran. Correct me, please. I want you to correct me on this one, because I really would like to know. Yeah, so Joy Division, Love Will Tear Us Apart. The lead singer died, right? Didn't he OD when I was like 7?
Yeah, one album. Ian. What's his Ian? Just say Ian Joy Division into Google. She'll tell you. She's good at that. Ian.
Come on, know-it-alls in the comment section. Where are you at tonight? I love being correct. They love correcting you when they know. So
Joy Division, Ian.
Yeah, but coming out of that was
Ian Curtis. That's him. Yeah, like one album and he OD'd. I had a girlfriend back, 94, 93, something like that. She's a big Joy Division fan. She was like, Ian Curtis was a genius. I'm like, he was 20-year-old junkie with one album. I don't think we can call him a genius. He's got one song that history remembers. I don't know. I've got a chip on my shoulder with Joy Division. And it bothers me I couldn't remember his name.
Well, you should. However, so they begat us New Order, and I kind of have a problem with this. The suggestion that Joy Division should be in there, because Joy Division didn't do squat. That one song they had does not get them in to the Hall of Fame. So what are they getting in on the coattails of what New Order did? And that doesn't seem right. I'm fine with them not being in.
Well, speaking of New Order, James, the next band to not make it in, New Order. That's right. Joy Division was up and didn't get in, and New Order was up and did not get in. So that's unfortunate. I don't know. I like New Order. I think New Order deserves to be in far more than Joy Division does.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
New Order was big. Cyndi Lauper, James. Cyndi Lauper did not get in, but Kate Bush did. Explain that to me. Make that make sense.
Well, Cyndi Lauper was not in season 4 of Stranger Things.
Yeah.
If you go tap on the shoulder of someone that's 25 or younger and you say, who is Kate Bush or Cyndi Lauper, they'd be more apt to know Kate Bush.
I suppose, but you know, if you're suffering from that skin disease, what's that skin disease? Where you're
Eczema or whatever. Oh my God! Right? Like if you got a flaky scalp, Cyndi Lauper, she's in the Flaky Scalp Hall of Fame, I think.
yeah,
Right?
you might know her from those
The
commercials.
Eczema Hall of Fame. That's pretty cool too. I think it's also in Ohio. The Eczema Hall of Fame. It's very popular.
Well known for that. James, what about Soundgarden? Soundgarden did not
Soundgarden
get
should
in.
be in there. What's going on with that?
I don't know how I feel
That
about
makes no sense.
Dude, like I said this afternoon, where are we going to draw the line? I mean, we're going to let in Pearl Jam and Nirvana. Okay, fine. We're going to put in Soundgarden. If we're going to put in Soundgarden, doesn't Hole deserve to be in there? Hole was a bigger band than Soundgarden.
Hole was not a bigger band than Soundgarden.
Yes, they did.
Stone Temple Pilots was a bigger band than Soundgarden.
Yeah, but they were Stone Temple Pilots from San Diego. I'm keeping this to the grunge Seattle bands. I think a case can be made for Soundgarden. I just need to be convinced. You think they absolutely deserve to be in?
Based on the stuff they did by themselves, yes. When you add in like the sort of coattail factor that Chris Cornell went and did a whole another amazing thing.
Chris Cornell has a case because of his work with Audio Slave and because he did other things. Chris Cornell as an individual.
He did some other collaborations. He did some solo stuff.
Yeah.
So that kind of counts. I mean, that was his primary project was Soundgarden. So that's their best case.
All right, James also denied entry into this year's class, the 2023 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. 2023 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. White Stripes. The White Stripes were denied entry into the Hall of Fame.
That's huge as far as an oversight. Few things embody what the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is aspiring to be more than the White Stripes. If you go look at what Jack White is playing and what the term rock and roll means, when you go look at the scales, the chords, the progressions, that rock and roll was built on the back of, Chuck Berry and B.B. King and going all the way back to Robert Johnson. Of course, Jack White is in that direct lineage. He's not a branch on the tree. He's still in the damn trunk of the tree of what rock and roll is. He's killing it. He's huge. And in modern terms, he's the biggest guy that's still doing that. He's still doing the trunk of rock and roll right now. And the fact that he's not in is a bigger farce than people like Kate Bush getting in. The fact that his exclusion from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is a bigger travesty than the inclusion of some of these other goofier acts.
Overrated. I don't know. I think it's too soon for the White Stripes. I think maybe they wait a few. I don't even know, man. Now, everything you said about Jack White is true. But Jack White is a musical flibbertigibbet who jumps around, who will probably and is deserving of going in as a solo act. I just don't know that one project that he did, the one that introduced him to us all, is necessarily in and of itself worthy of Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Certainly Jack White is. That case, you've sold me on that. But he should be up as an individual for all of the raconte, everything that he's done, all of the stuff he's produced, the way he's brought cool to everybody from Loretta Lynn to Loretta Lynn. You know what I mean? I mean, he's a very cool guy, and he should go in. And if his name was on the ballot, it was, does Jack White deserve to be in the Hall of Fame? I check yes. But the question is the White Stripes, and I don't think that, no. I don't.
Well, this feels a lot like the previous discussion with Chris Cornell and Soundgarden.
Yeah.
Chris Cornell, sure. Mm-hmm. Soundgarden's his primary project, so they did do a lot of cool stuff. They had more success than most bands. They're better than most bands. They're more rock and roll than most bands. I think the White Stripes definitely on their own, have the ability to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And the fact that Jack White did so much other good stuff with raconteurs and his solo stuff and a couple of collaborations, it smells just like Chris Cornell. And my argument for him is the same, except I think his is even stronger. I think the White Stripes had more success than Soundgarden. I think they had more successful albums. I think, like when you look at songs you would recognize from the White Stripes versus Soundgarden, because look, the White Stripes, like that song from Napoleon Dynamite, we're going to be friends. You know, we are going to be friends. Like that's the White Stripes. They have like 20 of those songs that are embedded in different pop culture references that would trigger your nostalgia, and few bands have as much as the White Stripes do in that regard.
Warren Zevon, James. Warren Zevon was also denied entry, posthumously so. Warren Zevon. Lawyers, guns, and money. Get me out of here. Oh.
Okay. I know Werewolves of London, and that's it. Like, I don't know anything else by that dude. So I don't think I have enough knowledge to even have a strong opinion. Is he not a one-hit wonder? Does he have more than that?
Yeah. You didn't know the song I was just singing? You didn't know? Okay, here we go. Maybe you know if you... Here you go. Well, Spotify, when you put WAR, it autofills Warren Zevon as the first one. So somebody's checking him out.
I guess Warrant's not real happy about that.
And how about this one? Yeah, Warrant. Warrant. Sorry, Warrant. All right. So here, this is a good one. He's a great. Here's Warren Zevon's specialty, James. Lyrics. Okay? Listen to the lyrics.
I went home with a waitress.
Went home with a waitress.
The way I always do. How was I to know? She was with the Russians too.
She was with the Russians too. She's a spy.
I was gambling in Havana. I took a little risk. Send lawyers, guns, and money. Dad, get me out of this. Ha!
Come on, that's a great song. That's he's like a black ops CIA guy down in Havana, got himself in a little bit of trouble, and all he needs is lawyers, guns, and money. Get me out of this.
What's the name of that song?
Lawyers, guns, and money. Lawyers, guns, and money. Yeah, that's a banger. I like that. And then, of course, you know, he's got...
Yes.
He's got this one. I don't know if you know this one. Excitable Boy.
No, but I do really appreciate the rock piano.
Oh, yeah, he's big on the rock piano. Yeah, you should give him a listen. He's fun. His stories, his lyrics are fun. He's a great lyricist. He's very Hunter S. Thompson-esque. You know, it's like his stories are almost like a narrative that you could see Hunter S. Thompson writing about. Warren Zevon. I don't know, he deserves to go in. He's a little bit too artsy-fartsy. He was always like an indie guy, you know what I mean? Never a really big breakthrough. Had a couple... I guess you would even call Werewolves of London a novelty hit, yeah? I mean, because people remember it because it's kind of fun. But on its merits, it's a cool-ass song, and the lyrics are cool. I mean, if you listen to the lyrics, they're cool. All right, James, that does it. That wraps up this year's 2023 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction class. Very controversial.
Not too bad.
What do you got? You got anything on your mind today? As we awkwardly segue. I got stuff. We got new names. Well, you know, but go ahead. New NFL names we could go through, try and pronounce and spell.
Well, I'm interested in this bit because I am compiling names for an upcoming bit called Black or Roman.
Oh, okay.
Do any of these fit the paradigm of Black or Roman?
All right. Well, what do you mean black? What you got to explain black, and then you got to explain what Roman is. I need to know what the criterion is.
I have enjoyed that our Black American neighbors have been so adventurous in the nomenclature for their offspring that is starting to overlap with the ancient Romans. And
Jadavius. Yeah, stuff like that. I love it. Yeah.
I don't know why this entertains me so, but it does. Maybe it's a personality flaw on my part. but I notice other people seem to at least pretend to enjoy it when I bring this up in social settings. And so I look, I don't say I'm the expert on this. I'm just in the middle of compiling the list on Black or Roman. Because look, let's start with some Romans that everyone knows.
Well, first, can I just interject very quickly that I love this idea, but this is very similar to something that two guys named Steve Dahl and Gary Meyer used to do in the '80s, where they would ask the question: Is this a legitimate black person's name or a town in Wisconsin? Because towns in Wisconsin are all like Sheboygan, Waukesha, stuff like that. So that's how I remember this style of bit. But I'm anxious because I love the crossover with Roman history. I'm a big fan of Roman history. And you're right, the names are glorious. So let's hear them.
Well, I must say I am not as familiar with towns in Wisconsin.
Yeah, well, when you're in Chicago, you are. So that's why that bit played in the Midwest.
Well, look, let's give some obvious examples, to chum the waters here. For the first one of the most famous Romans ever, Julius Caesar. Holy crap, there's Julius Jones in the NFL. They have matching names. There's probably several Caesars in the NFL right now. So there's some obvious overlap. So on that one, if I said the word Julius, you would say both. If I said the word Octavius, you would say Roman, because Octavius Caesar, he changed his name to Augustus. But if I said the name Barkevius, you would say Black, because he is defensive lineman for the Bengals last I checked.
I don't know. Draft pick Barkevius Mingo. Is that
Barkevius Mingo. He went to LSU, and I've been laughing at his name.
Plays for the Jets, I believe, or did play for the Jets.
Look, you some of them are obvious. Like if I said DeBrickashaw Ferguson.
DeBrickashaw. Right. Emperor DeBrickashaw.
Right. But, some of them, the fun part is the overlap. The fun part isn't the ridiculously Roman or the ridiculously black names. The fun part is, like, how many Romans are named Marcus? Like, about a third of them, right?
Right.
And there might be a Marcus on every team in the NFL right now. I haven't gone through the roster since the draft happened. But, yeah, these are so let me throw one at you.
Okay.
Hang on, let me put on my glasses. I've been compiling this for a while, and this is tough. That's right. DeQuartavis.
Oh, that's a black guy name.
Okay, yeah. DeQuartavis Crowder is a linebacker for the Giants.
There you go. There you go. Okay.
All right. Amen Ra.
Oh, well, that's an Egyptian pharaoh, right?
No, well, he was a wide receiver. He just got drafted out of USC.
There you go. Okay.
All right. Lacquavante.
Well, that sounds like a football player.
Well, yes, but you would never guess his last name. His last name is Gonzalez.
No, yeah, you're right. Hey, is one of my Chicago Bear wide receivers on your list? Because he has the perfect name for this game. Because his name his first name anyway, very much sounds Roman. Do you have Equanimous St. Brown on your list?
Damn, that's perfect. You are
Equanimous.
Yes. Oh. Equanimous, and then it's like the most generic American name after it. Brown.
Well, St. Brown. No, so
Saint
it
Brown,
sounds even more like Roman. Like it could totally, you know what I mean? It's like Equanimous St. Brown.
That's what I like about my name. It's like Parker. I don't know if you're white or black, but I know you're American. Right?
Today I was talking about how I wanted to do the new names I've discovered in this year's NFL draft that I think are just fun as all hell. Yeah. I was talking about that during the noon show. And I talked about Romper Room and about how Miss Sally, who was my Romper Room teacher, would hold the mirror up. I don't know if they're familiar with Romper Room. Do you know what Romper Room is, or is that just my generation?
No, that's before my time. I don't know.
Romper Room was just a camera set up in a nursery school. And there was a teacher, and it was Miss Sally. And at the end of the show, she would hold up a mirror, and she would pretend that she could see all of us watching on TV. And she'd say, James, we'd all gather in front of the TV because Miss Sally time. She'd say, I see Johnny, and I see Billy, and I see Ron, and I see Tim, and I see Mary, and I see Jill. It was all the generic names of the 70s. And it was really easy for all of us to feel very inclusive. But that bit must have gone to hell as soon as the first Tavarion showed up. You know what I mean? Like, she's never gonna say, dude, you used to sit there as like a 5 or 6 year old and maybe John is my biblical name, is my given name. John. As a John, I only heard her say my name maybe twice a week, right? So imagine if your name is like, dude, Jaquarius. She's never going to say your name, and that has to be crushing to a 5-year-old. But, go ahead. I want to hear more of yours.
All right. So we're getting deeper into the game here. I want you to think about this before you answer.
Okay.
Hamilcar.
I'm going to say Roman.
Can I hear your thoughts on that? Do you know a name the Roman Hamilcar?
No, I do not. It's,
you don't know
it's an absolute guess because it's I don't know anyone in sports. I've never heard that in modern times.
So you don't know the last name of anyone named Hamilcar?
No.
Okay. So this is why this game's so great, because Hamilcar, this name you've never heard, the correct answer is both.
Okay, there you go.
This is amazing. This is what I find amazing. Who has heard of the name Hamilcar? Of all you people, you smarty, know-it-all, smarmy, correctersons in the chat comments, how many of y'all know a Hamilcar that's either Roman or NFL? But Hamilcar Barca is Hannibal's dad. You know, the guy that went over the Swiss Alps with a bunch of elephants and crap?
Okay.
His dad's name is
hell.
also a Carthaginian general who was big in the Punic War scene. Hamilcar Barca. In fact, he got his ass kicked. There's also Hamilcar Rashed Jr., who I've been watching since he was at Oregon State, but is now with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Sure.
He's been on the list for a while. And I remember because, like, oh, man, there's a football player named Hamilcar, and that's like the Carthaginian dude. So I've had my eye on him, and he's been in this bit for about 4 years now.
Well, I don't know how good the names on my list here are for your bit, but they are some new names that exist.
I need them. I need all the help I can get because this bit is not fleshed out yet.
Well, here, let me give you a couple of them. These are names that did not exist in my world until they were drafted. And then I saw them and I went, oh, that Perfect. Is now a name. That wasn't a name yesterday, but now to me, that's a name. Thanks. All right, here's one of the first one. How about drafted Jacksonville Jaguars running back out of Auburn, Cartavius Bigsby. Okay, Cartavius Tank Bigsby. Goes by Tank, but his full name is, Cartarvius Bigsby. Cartarvius Bigsby.
Spell this name for me, please.
Cartarvious. Bigsby. With a tank in the middle. It's his nickname. Cartarvius Tank Bigsby.
And he came from Auburn?
Came from Auburn. He's a running back out of the SEC. He was drafted in the 3rd round, number 88 overall by your Jacksonville Jaguars.
Man, that sounds quite Roman, doesn't it? Cartarvius?
Here's one our very own Dallas Cowboys took with the 90th pick in the 3rd round. This is probably, James, I don't know, for my money, certainly one of the best names in this draft. The Dallas Cowboys took out a Texas linebacker, DeMarvion Overshown. DeMarvion Overshown. First name, bringing it full heat. Second name, bringing it full heat. That is great.
And he's a Longhorn?
He is the University of Texas. He was the 90th pick in the 3rd round, a linebacker. DeMarvion Overshown to the Dallas Cowboys, to your Dallas Cowboys. There you go. James, how about this one? I like this name. This is a cute name. This one is almost Muppet-like. Out of Georgia, cornerback, Philadelphia Eagles took in the 4th round, the 105th pick overall, Keely Ringo. That's cute. It's like a Muppet name, that one.
There's a lot of Keeleys. I think I know like 3 Keeleys.
Cornerbacks? Really? Because I know Keely last. Yeah, right? So it's Keely Ringo, and then it's a fun last name. All right, it's not great.
Well, it doesn't sound Roman.
No. Well, that's what I said. I don't know but these are new names that did not exist.
Yeah, Julius Gaius Ringo.
Although I knew who Keely Ringo is because Georgia was on TV a lot. How about Servocia Dennis? Servocia Now, this one could definitely be for your name. Servocia, James, I'm spelling it for you. Sirvocea. That's the first name. Sirvocea. Dennis. Servocia Dennis, linebacker out of Pittsburgh. Goes in the 5th round, 153rd pick overall to your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Here's a good one. I like this one. Never heard this name before. Here's a new first name for you. Takes all the majesty of Donald and mixes it with your favorite Tavion and brings you Dontavian Wicks. Dontavian Wicks. The Emperor Dontavian. Come on, James. I could see someone getting tripped up on that one.
That is so Roman. That is a guy who's like a shipbuilder in Genoa who just struck a deal with the fucking Phoenicians again. Yeah.
Dontavian Wicks.
Punic Wars, here we come.
Wide receiver out of Virginia goes to the Green Bay Packers in the 5th round, 105th pick overall. Now, this is something that we're seeing now. We're seeing with the, mom gets pregnant and then dad is not in the house, but then mom gets remarried. So there's a stepdad there and the stepdad steps in where dad is maybe absent. So the kid now has the hyphenated name. Have you seen? This is relatively new in the last 10 years. The athletes with their father's last name and then a hyphen and then the last name of the man who their mom married. The step.
Maurice Jones-Drew.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's the law firm names. Yeah.
Might be the first that we've seen. Now, there are also a couple other things that bother
Edward Zelaire.
Well, here we've got Trevidius, T-R-E, apostrophe, Vidius, V-I, I'm sorry, it's just Vius, Trevius, T-R-E, apostrophe, capital V, I-U-S, Hodges, dash Tomlinson. Trevius, Hodges, Tomlinson. I like it. Trevius? I don't know. What does the apostrophe do? Changes the way you pronounce it? I don't know.
It signals to the entire world that your mom's a moron because an apostrophe is supposed to replace the letter. And if it's not replacing a letter, then you're just putting it there for no reason. You don't understand how apostrophes work. And you're functionally illiterate. That's what you're telling the world. Your mom's functionally illiterate if you have a random apostrophe in your name.
That may be the case for the mom, but how about a shout out to Mr. Tomlinson, who obviously stepped in and raised this boy who wasn't his own. And now he's got an NFL player. Good job.
Mr. Tomlinson is an angel of a human being for putting up with Travius's mom this entire time. This guy is a great man, and we should all be more like him.
All right.
Wait. Where did Travius go? What team is he for?
Travius went to the Los Angeles Rams with the 182nd pick in the 6th round. He is a cornerback out of TCU.
I don't think that's going to make the cut because there's no one in Roman history that had an errant apostrophe.
Or a hyphenated.
Extraneous.
Yeah,
right. Second dad.
Dejuan Johnson. Dejuan is a new name. Desjuan. Dejuan Johnson. Dejuan Johnson. That's not a great one either. There's really, you can see how far I went through all 7 rounds. There aren't a whole lot of crazy ass names. We got
look, here's what this looks like to me.
Yaya Diaby. Forgot about Yaya Diaby. Capital Y, small a, capital Y, small a. Diaby. D-I-A-B-Y. Now, he's a defensive end out of Louisville, went to the Buccaneers in the 3rd round. I should say, James, I left off the obviously ethnic names. Like I left off the dudes from West Africa. And I left off the, because that's cheating. Those are just ethnically strange names. They're not necessarily made up, right?
No. You didn't accidentally leave them off.
No, I purposely.
The funny part about the funny names is and Africa is a gigantic continent that's 3 times as big as the landmass of America. It has more people. It's like 1 billion people living on it. And there's not one of them named Trey apostrophe Vius.
There are no Jalens. There are no Jalens being
There's
born.
probably not a Dontavian or Savocia.
No. And that's why I went with those names. I went with the made-up names. The whole premise of this is that these are names that somebody's parent just completely made up, and now they're a name to me, and now I'm just okay with that.
I tell you what kills me, man, is when you watch the Olympics and this guy from Kenya just won the marathon and he beat everyone by like 4 minutes. And they're like, "What's his name?" And it's like Kevin Davis. It's like if you want to keep your kids an African name, you could just be Kevin, right?
Hey, how about this one? Here's a name. I like the racially ambiguous names. It can go either way.
Like
Okay.
James Parker.
No. Hendon Hooker. What color is Hendon Hooker, quarterback out of Tennessee? Hendon Hooker.
Oh, what a great game you've just invented.
Hendon Hooker.
Hendon sounds like it could be white. I'm going white. I'm leaning white.
Tennessee, that's very Tennessee white, right? Like how you always get like a weird congressman with a name like Stassley, like something made up. Like this could be like that. This could be Saxy, something weird.
Siobhan.
So you're going
Kendall.
white?
Roman.
You're going white with Hendon Hooker? No, Hendon Hooker is actually a black guy. But yeah, it sounds does very much. I was like you. I thought it was a white guy. I really thought he was a white guy.
Bro, so look, you got kids, or you have a kid that's about my kid's age. I don't know if y'all have the same thing going on in Dallas. Maybe it's different in Bug Tussle because we just culturally speaking, I think every one of my kids, I have 4 kids and they're all in different grades out here in Bug Tussle. And in every one of their grades is a black girl named Aaliyah. Like, I think every 5th black girl out here in the country is named Aaliyah. They just all decided, about 10 years ago, we're going to name our daughters Aaliyah. And
yeah, man, and all those houses have Obama pictures in them. I'm telling you can't underestimate the influence of that family on the American black public.
Right.
There's a lot of Malias. Hell yeah.
Let me tell you something. Doesn't bother me a bit because out here.
Good.
No.
Why would it?
No, well.
There you go.
It doesn't bother me a bit because white people are so much worse out here in the country. Like, y'all don't know, if you never leave the city, you don't know what white people are doing out here, and it's so embarrassing. So white people, about 10 years ago or so, started naming their daughters specifically last names.
Oh, yeah.
Last names. They don't name them Jennifer or Amy
No
anymore.
biblical names anymore.
No, they name them. Look, these are not made up names. My kids all have friends named Windsor.
Oh no.
Montgomery.
Oh my God.
And there's Cooper.
Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah. There's like Hudson. There's Taylor.
Yeesh.
Like Smith. There's almost every last name out there there's a kid, and white people have started naming their kids last names, and it's really pissing me off. And the thing that's really pissing me off is because the other trend.
Wait, don't you got like non-traditional white guy names for your kids? So do I. My kid's name is Mason. Now that wasn't popular when I named him that, but whatever. You know what I mean? I mean, we didn't name our kids John, Jim, Mike, or William. You know what I mean? We didn't stay to the rules and our parents.
Okay, I only have one real wacky name that we made up, but I have Rex,
That's not a normal name. That's a cool name, but it's not a
Rex
normal
Grossman,
name.
Rex Ryan. It's not unheard of.
No, it isn't. But it's not common.
And it's not a word I made up. It's not Dontavius.
I did not know any Rexes my entire time going through school. I
may not have either. But I just named a couple of examples of high profile Rexes. And but look, that's and plus he was from New Orleans, and in New Orleans, Rex is the big New Orleans parade and the Rex of Mardi Gras, and it's a very New Orleans name. The next one is Elizabeth. She was named after one of her grandmothers.
That's
no,
perfect.
no one can argue with that. So that's my clearance that I'm not just giving out wacky names willy-nilly. Right? That's my safe name. Next one is Atticus, which is kind of rare.
Here we go. Nope. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Atticus. A literary reference book you're intellectually scoreboarding from birth. Go ahead. It's a beautiful name.
The cute thing is, I don't know if it's like when you buy a car and now that you bought a Ford Taurus, now all of a sudden you notice all the Ford Tauruses on the street. But I think there's a lot of people who caught on to that name about the same time I did, because I've noticed a few other Atticuses out there. And also, this is cutest. Yeah, this is the cutest thing I've ever heard of in my entire life. When Atticus went to kindergarten, the girl that sat next to him in kindergarten, her name is Scout. and that's not a nickname. Her name is literally
Look
Scout.
what you got there. The teacher was Boo Radley. That was concerning.
The teacher had a dog named Boo Radley, and
No.
she sat them next to each other.
No, that did not
Yeah,
happen.
that was a real thing. And my last kid's name is Quinlan, which was it's an amalgamation of two family names, Quinn and Lynn.
Look at us riffing on smart people subjects. All right, continue.
Yeah. No. I was just griping about white people and their nomenclature because the previous thing that was pissing me off about white people.
Wait, what's your other kid's name? Xenu? Or we got Rex?
No, that's all four. That's all four. Rex, Elizabeth,
Atticus.
Atticus, Quinlan.
Oh, Quinlan. You didn't say Quinlan. Atticus and Quinlan are problematic names. The other two you can make a case for. Rex is borderline. Elizabeth is classic.
Agreed. Totally agreed. So the white people were doing this thing where they were naming their kids different things, but they all rhymed. So like on the girl side, it was like Aiden, Caden, Jalen, Malin, Addison, Madison, Haddison, whatever, Hadley, Cadley, Madley, whatever. And then the guys were the same way. It was like Peyton, Jalen, Caden, Braden, Daden, Peyton, whatever. They all rhymed. And so that was really pissing me off. And I think they were finally getting the message from me, and they changed it to last names. And this isn't much better. I'm starting to get pissed at this. So just look, let's just put a little thumbtack here. When I gripe about dumb things that other races do, believe me, I have plenty of grievances for white people as well. Let's not forget that. Okay.
Fair. I was trying to think, when I was coming up, like girls, there was always like a whole bunch. Like I'll give you when I was coming up, if you were named Heather, okay, in the 1980s, if you were like a 14-year-old in 1984 and your name was Heather, you were hot.
My older sister's named Heather.
Every Heather was hot. That was kind of a rule. We had a lot of Heathers. They were all hot. We had a lot of Kellys. We had a lot of variations of Jen. There was Jen, Jennies, and Jennifers everywhere.
There was Jen, Jenna, Jenny, Jennifer. Yeah. Oh my God. Everywhere.
Lousy. Then we had the Lisas. There were a lot. Seemed to be a lot of Lisas. And then now the names went haywire. And then like the next generation introduced us to the Tiffanys and the Ashleys. And then suddenly every other girl was named Ashley. I think every girl born between 1980 and 1990 was named Ashley. Every other girl, because that name was everywhere, and it didn't exist when I was a kid.
Yeah, and I'm interested in these names that do not exist throughout English literature, in history, whatever. Like James is in the Bible, John's in the Bible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the biblical names.
Elizabeth is in the Bible, Ruth, Esther, Sarah. So there's so many names, but Heather. There's not a Heather in the Bible, like you just mentioned, right? And there is no kids that are rolling through the elementary school in Bug Tussle here named Heather. So Heather is this name that
no Ashley either, though, is there? What is Ashley derivative of something that I'm missing? Ashley seems like a completely made up name too. But go ahead, back to Heather.
No, Ashley fits into that category as well. And there's names that only exist for like this little short spans of time. My sister, and it's funny because my older sister's name is Heather, so your example's perfect. I've observed that and can confirm it. My mom also has a time specific name as well, Nancy. There's no Nancy in the Bible. There's no Nancy in Shakespearean literature. There's no Nancy in like the Federalist Papers or anything, but there's also no Nancys now. So Nancy was someone's name from like maybe 1930 to about 1980, and then they just quit.
Nancy is short for something else.
It's not. My mom's name is Nancy. It's not.
Well, your mom's name is Nancy, but I think there's a common, like a much more fancy, old timey name that Nancy is sort of the nickname for. I don't know. I really don't want to look that up. Yeah, my mom's name is Mary Ann, and that's not in the Bible. Mary is certainly. I don't know where the Ann comes from.
Well, so there is Mary Ann's throughout literature, Maid Marian from.
Well, that's Marian. That's not Mary Ann. Don't call her Mary Ann Marian. They get very angry. It's two totally different names.
My wife's name, my wife's mom is a Marian. So yeah, Marian and Marianne. I get it, but you and I know, and all the people watching right now know that that's the same damn name.
No, it's not.
No, why
Team
it's-
Mom. I'm on Team Mom on this
together.
one. They're not. They're two completely separate names. All right. Hey, what do you say we wrap this up, James? Tell people where they can find Florida stories.
It's going to be up your butt. So if you just want to squat over a mirror and get a flashlight, take a good look, it's be right there.
That's it.
Actually, I want to thank y'all because Florida Stories just had its best month ever. April 2023 scored my highest ratings ever, and so someone's actually you're probably not because you're an a-hole, but there's other people that are watching right now that are nice people that are actually going and following and downloading and sharing it. And so maybe if you want to be a decent human being, you could do the same thing. But if not, it's whatever. I just got kids. That's all.
I think Byron's right. Internet says Nancy is short for Hannah.
Oh, well, stand corrected.
I don't know if that's right. But I thought that Nancy was like a nickname because there was somebody whose name was something else and everyone in her family called her Nan. And then that became Nancy, but that wasn't her name. And I knew her from... All right, James, have a good one. We'll see you tomorrow. That's a thought that doesn't need
Thank
to be...
you, Whitney. Everybody be like Whitney.
Be like Whitney. Whitney's the best. All right, bye, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. He is Squirt Reynolds, and I am Mickey Grabowski, and together we are Pugs and Parker every Monday through Thursday evening right here on the Radio Misfits podcast platform. Whoa, what happened there? I just got jumped around. We'll see you tomorrow at noon, okay? Appreciate you. My high noon stream. All the day's hot topics, current events, trends, whatever it is that's happening in the world. I bring it to you in a nice little neat-to-eat treat. Monday through Friday at noon. It's the High Noon Report with me, Bugs Moran. Oh, sorry. I mean Mickey Grabowski. Bye, everybody. Oh, look, James is still there.
Go where all the marigolds are found. Tomorrow the sun is shining bright. Everything